First of all, I think we have to acknowledge the work that the farming community and the workers in the food chain has done over the last few weeks to make sure that there's food for everyone. Minister, I want quick-fire answers on different things. Minister Humphreys, you said that if there was more than 2 people diagnosed in a factory or in any business, for that matter, the company were to contact the HSE. What consequences if they didn't do that? Second of all, I think in relation to the HSA, it has been brought up here many times. Every year we get different numbers of farm visits and all the different things. Is it possible, Minister, from the 1st of March to the 20th of May, that the HSA, we don't want to know the names of those places, that they just say we had inspections in X amount of meat plants in this country? Is that possible for every deputy that has brought it up here so far? Is it wise, Minister for Agriculture, that in some factories where there was family members that came in contact with it, that one family member would be isolating even though they lived in the same house and the other family member was still working in the factory? And why, Minister for Agriculture, why in some areas was, say, in nursing homes, it was announced where it was, to sort of help in the area as well, to make sure that everyone battened down the hatches for a cluster? Why was it so the information kept in relation to factories so far away? Also, Minister, and these are things related to the whole COVID thing, with the price of cattle has been brought up earlier on. Bulls have been sold over the last month at 320. Farmers are losing money. Are you going to bring in a beam scheme? And there is 1,400 trained responsible people in Ireland. Minister, you're aware of the situation where there's probably 3,000 to 4,000 people where farmers get dose and stuff, fluke and worms and all that. There's a problem coming down the line. Are you in support of those people, that a resolution will be found that we can still get our, beside the mart where the shop was, that we can still get our dose and stuff there, or are we going to lose them jobs? I know that you're sending a letter to Europe, your department is. Are you going to back those people? And the other one, Minister, and both ministers, there's 12,000 jobs in the forestry sector. We are talking about hitting climate targets and all that. At the moment, we have a company that actually can sell timber to the UK, but they can't get a felon licence. Can anyone shed light on this, or what is going on in the forestry services, Minister? I know there was court cases, I know there was problems, I know you had to get ecologists, but there is a backlog. There is problems for businesses and there is a massive amount of jobs at risk. Year within talking to the Greens at the moment, who want trees nearly everywhere, even though the farmers of this country were being kicked up and down the road. But when it came to COVID, they fed the country, and since the planes stopped, at least the weather got good, even though the farmers are still farming. But what is going to be done on the forestry sector? It's at crisis point. You will not go near the targets that we have talked about, and there's nothing coming out of that department. There is chaos in it, Minister. I'm not blaming you, but someone has to take the reins in there now, because what is happening is we are losing jobs, we are losing exports out of this country, and when you talk to the timber merchants, they are in serious trouble at the moment. Thank you.
Very quickly, and I'm delighted to hear Deputy Fitzmaurice's support for the forestry sector. We have difficulties in the area in respect of licensing. There have been a series of legal cases, both domestically and in European courts, which have in effect forced us to reconstruct our licensing process, legally rebuild the process. And I'm satisfied that we are making progress with the backlog. It's not helped by the constant appealing of licences that we are issuing, but we're making efforts to try and expedite and the manner in which people are entitled to appeal. But we are making efforts to expedite that process, because it's affecting licences for felling, for forestry roads, for planting, etc. But I do appreciate the Deputy's support and concern in that regard. We have an EU directive on veterinary medicines that you allude to. We have to transpose that into Irish law. We're anxious to do it in a responsible fashion, and we'll engage with the sectors impacted by it.
Just going back to the issues the deputies raised. First of all, the Health and Safety Authority have full powers to go into any place of work, and they have carry out inspections, Now, in terms of COVID-19, what they want to do is they want to work with the employers, they want to work with the employees to resolve the issues if there are complaints, and every complaint, can I just say, receives attention, and it's, okay.
Can we get, just, all that's been asked, there's no name of factories, no one is looking for that. Can we get the amount of inspections they've done on meat factories from the 1st of March to the 20th of May? That's all we're asking.
Well, I have no problem asking the HSA, which you know is an independent body, and I have no problem asking them to respond to you. I suppose, in fairness, COVID-19 has changed everything, and you know, it has changed the way in which you know, the workers have had to change their processes.
Hold on, Deputy. Hold on, Deputy.
No, they have carried out 240 inspections from 240 inspections or since Monday, and included in that have been some meat plants. I don't know. But they are. But can I just say to you, if there was an outbreak in any meat plant, the first protocol is the HSE. So the HSE don't go in.
What's the consequences if the factory hasn't done it if there's more than 2, as you said earlier on? What's the consequences for a factory if they don't report it to the HSE if there was more than 2 earlier on?
Yeah, well, they do report it. It's the responsibility. Sorry.
Yeah, Minister for Agriculture.
I understand it, and we're at somewhat of a disadvantage here because these are health-related issues, and the Minister for Health was answering questions on these matters. But it's the individual who is primarily notified, and I don't intend to add anything further to what has been said about who's notified, but it is primarily the individual who is notified, and the individual takes responsibility thereafter. The employer is not routinely notified. Okay. If an employer has 22 cases, the employer is not routinely notified.
Right, okay.
Thanks. Very briefly.
Sorry.
Minister,
and just to say that, you know, anybody, if a worker has a problem and they're concerned regarding health and safety in the workplace, they can contact the HSA, and the HSA has received a number of complaints. I just haven't the figures to hand here. I can get them for you. Sorry, I have actually. The HSA received 3,300 complaints since the 1st of March, and over 200 of those related to COVID-19. Some of them were actually about complaints about premises that had subsequently closed because of COVID. Some of them were about premises that hadn't actually reopened, and some of them came from people who didn't even work in the place where they were, you know, where the complaint was being made. But nobody can actually tell the HSA to do an inspection. There's an assessment and a process, and every complaint is looked at on its own merits. And if an inspection is necessary, well, that's the decision of the Health and Safety Authority.